welcome to the Behind the Tea podcast with Rob and Kelly. How's it going, Rob?
It's going well. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Although once this podcast goes up, I think it's going to be a couple weeks past the holiday season.
Okay, yeah. We're in that awkward stage between Christmas and New Year's. And I noticed, Kelly, you happen to be in a closet.
Yes. Well, with the holidays, you're not always at home, so you kind of have to makeshift a studio. And I figured, closet with a lot of clothes is going to be the least echoey and most sound protected room in the house. So.
And because it's filled with clothes, I can think of no better topic than to
talk about fashion.
You got it. Curling fashion. Not an oxymoron.
And this is also why I chose the closet. I thought I was going to get inspiration for our topic of discussion today.
Do you happen to have any Norwegian curling pants in there?
I do not, because in fact, this is not my closet. But no, that's something I think that at this point, every curler would have in their closet. However, I have to say it is more of a male trend. I don't know if you've noticed.
Yeah, it's true.
There's not that many females that wear the flashy Norwegian pants. We like to stick with our black yoga type pants.
You don't have to wear it. I just want everybody to come to an agreement that we're all in favor of the Norwegian pants, right?
Oh, absolutely. There is one problem with the Norwegian pants that I have. And this is not to say that they shouldn't exist, but with the rise in popularity, there definitely has been crazier patterns that have come out.
Mm-hmm.
And with crazy patterns, as cool as they are very difficult to match. So one thing that I hate is when the jacket is a different color or a color that doesn't match the pattern of the pants. So it just looks not together.
Like every Norwegian outfit there ever was?
Pretty much, except for their Olympic outfits. At least they match. They're dressed in Norwegian colors.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, like you're saying that, for instance, Canada should not have blue and green, and if they're going to have crazy pants, they should be red and white.
Exactly, and black.
Okay. And black.
Stick to the color pattern, or even you can bring the pant pattern to the jacket, or just make it more seamless. Because some of these that I've seen, it's really top half is having one party, the bottom half is somewhere else. It's like they got dressed in the dark or something. It just doesn't look good. As cool as it is, it's just not a good look aesthetically.
I guess this is a good point to, I'm going to go way off topic here for a moment and acknowledge our last episode where we discussed ongoing thoughts into how to bring more attention to curling and bring ultimately more people to watch the Brier and Tournament of Hearts, not in a pandemic year, but when fans are actually allowed. And we all have various opinions, but we listened to another podcast where they had quite a few ideas, and some of them were a little bit weird, a little bit unusual, but I don't think any of them are actually going to make a big difference. I don't think any of the... And what does this have to do with what we're talking about? When I think of things that got non-curlers talking, I can't think of a better example than, Broomgate, first of all, but the Norwegian...
Let's not get into Broomgate.
Yeah, let's not go down that road. But the Norwegian curling pants, I remember back when they debuted that, everybody was talking about them, not curlers. It was one of the stories of the Olympics.
Do you remember what this story was or how those pants came about?
I don't remember quite.
I have the answer for you. So they came on the scene at the 2010 Vancouver Olympics. So that's over 10 years ago. Can you believe it? And Christopher Sva, the lead on the Norwegian team, is the one responsible for these pants.
Kelly's favorite player.
And I don't remember this detail exactly, but there was an issue with their outfits and pants not arriving in time or something like that. So him being, I guess, the fashion expert, and I'm using air quotes here, the fashion expert of the team, he was kind of responsible for getting the team new pants. And he's quite a outgoing person and found these pants, and they're actually golf pants originally.
Right, like they were designed for John Daly or something, weren't they?
Exactly. So they bought pants, and originally they were only supposed to use them for practice. So, usually the teams come a week or two before the Olympics start, and just to get acclimated to the environment. So they were wearing them for practice, and they were such a hit So people kept commenting on them and everything, so they just decided to wear them during the Olympics.
Oh,
And
very interesting.
it was a big talking point. Everyone loved them. Non-curlers were talking about them. They're like, "Who are these guys with these crazy pants?" I think it kind of fits their personality as well, right?
I think so too. And I remember getting really annoyed at the time because I remember one of the things that happened right away was most of us all laughed at it and enjoyed it, but we all know those people that were like, no, this shouldn't be allowed. The Canadian Association wouldn't allow them.
I think even the World Federation also wasn't a fan of them because curling is such a traditional game, and
Ugh.
you had to wear black pants or a black kilt.
It's hard to roll your eyes during a podcast, but that's what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, so let's just say that the players or the team won that one because now there definitely is more flexibility in what you can wear. And I think in the last Olympics, the Team USA they wore like white pants and red pants, like
Oh,
USA
yeah.
colors.
One color though,
That's true. I mean, baby steps here, and like they can't be wearing crazy patterns because then they'd be like copycats to the Norwegians, right?
I suppose. But
Could
yeah,
you imagine? I feel like they could come out in full like America flag pants.
they look like they're at a political rally.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's very they love their flag, so it'd be cool
Hmm.
to see, I guess. But those pants became so popular. Did you know that they even have their own Facebook fan page?
I do remember that.
I found it still exists. It hasn't been active in quite a few years, but it still has 380,000 subscribers or followers.
Oh my. Do they have an Instagram account? Can we follow them?
Oh, we should. Do they have an Instagram? Is the
Okay.
Instagram account still active?
I wonder. We'll have to figure that out.
And you can also check our Instagram at Behind the Tea Curling.
We got our plug-in,
Hey, we keep forgetting to plug it in every
but not
episode.
this
So
time. Seamless.
I think the pants coming on to the scene was kind of like the catalyst to changing fashion and curling, if you will. We've seen a lot of changes too, just in the shirts and the jerseys that are worn. Because before they were just very like traditional one color or like block color
Yeah.
type shirts and jackets. But now you definitely see a lot more patterns and more exciting jerseys. One notably is the Eden's team.
Do they still have those with the big Viking thing?
Yeah, they still have them, and obviously being from Sweden, Viking is a very fitting mascot for them. The Viking kind of looks like Asterix or Obelix,
He does, yes.
don't you find? Even though they're not Norwegian, they're not Swedish, they're French, but it
Yeah.
kind of looks the same. To be honest, I'm not a huge fan of the Viking jersey, but it is iconic. Or it has become iconic.
Yeah, that to me was always a little bit weird and ostentatious. Or I'd say this, if I were on that team, I really wouldn't want to be wearing it.
Oh no,
I don't know. I'm pretty easygoing with those kinds of things, but it's a little bit much. I don't know. It sticks out
yeah,
in I guess we're from the old school, or not that we are, but we're used to how bland curling
hmm
uniforms can be. Shout out Ontario. Just kidding. We'll get to that later. But I guess that's why when somebody comes out with something really wacky, maybe we
that's
like it,
true.
maybe not.
For me, it's just more the design. I'm not a huge fan of it. I think it's just I don't like it when jackets have too much going on. Like I like a more minimalist, simplistic look to it. To each
Me
their
too.
own.
That's what I would have thought. Yet I love the pants. So
Oh yeah,
that's
yeah,
the
that's true.
difference.
But I guess it made me think of back in the junior days, whenever you switch teams or you got a new player on the team, the topics of jackets always came up and trying to find a jacket and color that everyone liked and that would fit everyone. That was always a hot topic. And
That's
some
right.
teams had better outfits than others. I know that our jackets, our green ones, weren't popular with everyone, but we liked them.
You could spend a lot of money on those too.
Oh, they were really expensive too, and also for a jacket that you could only technically wear curling, like it wasn't a very versatile jacket, and you had to spend there were a good $100.
Uh-huh. And as you go on in curling, I remember hearing a long time ago, and this is true, you accumulate so many curling
Mm.
jackets. And Kelly's broadcasting from her closet. I'm broadcasting from my living room. But if I were to go to my closet, I think I'd find 20 something jackets from over the years.
Oh, yeah, I think some of them I definitely have gotten rid of, even if I wanted to take them out again just to play in our ladder leagues, like, they're so outdated and so ugly that they just they need to go to the trash bin, like, there's no
No,
saving
that's what
them.
makes them retro. That's what's great.
I don't even think these ones will make the retro phase.
So let's actually jump back to let's go way retro because I actually I collected well my grandfather curled, and so I have his old curling sweater, and it is literally a sweater from, I don't know what year he would have gotten it, but the patches on it are from 1985, 1986, around then. And so
It's like a cardigan
that's
almost,
right.
right?
Yeah, it
Because it
doesn't go
has,
all
like,
the
the
way up.
buttons.
That's right.
Yeah.
I've tried it on. I've curled in it a couple of times just for to make a little shout out to the retro curling phase, and it's fun. I love the way it looks just out of curling history, but oh my goodness, is it uncomfortable or
Oh, I can, because it's also it would be heavy too, right? If you're sweeping a lot?
it's a little bit, yeah. It the
It's not
broom,
sweat absorbent?
that's it. The broom just slides all over the place. You can't get a good grip
Oh.
against the side of your body, but it's really really itchy as
You
well.
know what would be a great idea? You know, for, like, the slams or the Canada Cup, they usually have one sponsor for
Mhm.
the event that kinda makes the jackets for all the teams. They could do a retro challenge where
I
all the
would love
teams
that.
come out, or whoever the sponsor is just makes a collection of retro jackets for every team, and then you can sell that. It's very marketable.
Yeah, for sure.
I think someone should get on that. Please,
It's
include
true.
us.
Yeah, it would sucker me in because, quick aside, Kelly sent me a link a couple of days ago about or for an article saying that corn brooms are getting increasingly hard to find, and that if you have a corn broom, it's a rare commodity and it's worth something. And so,
Especially one that's in good condition too, because 'cause they're not making them anymore.
no, and me being the curling historian that I am, I gave in to peer pressure and I pulled the trigger. I'm still waiting for it. It's somewhere in it's somewhere in like South Dakota or something. But
Oh, jeez.
I want my corn broom. I want to see what it looks like.
Hopefully next year you can bring it out and, it could become a slider tool. I mean, you can't sweep with it anymore, but
No, but I will one day when nobody's looking. There'll be straw all over the ice, but I so want to try. Maybe I'll try it in my living room and like disturb everybody.
'cause those are really loud.
That's right. But yeah, I love the curling history part, but I'm not saying it's comfortable. It sure isn't comfortable to sweep those things. I've never been able to do it properly, and it sure isn't comfortable to curl in those old retro sweaters.
Well, after the retro sweaters, I guess the next popular phase, and I definitely had a couple jackets like these, were the big puffy ones
Yep.
that are literally 3 times your size with an elastic band around the waist and your hands, and you just look like a inflatable Michelin man or something.
I remember when we made our first junior provincials, we had to get matching jackets, and so we were all pretty excited. It's kind of like a "you made it" moment when you get a matching jackets, and
Did you put your names on them yet?
we did, but they were like really, really small and on the sleeve. I think you guys had that too, right? Like it was really small.
Yeah, well, because we came on the scene right at that point where that trend started, where people were putting their last names on their backs, and it was kinda seen as a little pretentious,
Hmm. Yeah, that's why
especially
we
if
kept
you
it small. We're like we're only a little pretentious. You have to like you have to squint to see our name.
Yeah, you really have to know it's there to see it.
Yeah, and I think we liked those I seem to remember we all liked them. We all felt like, "Oh, we look pro." And I don't know, maybe a couple of years ago, I got that jacket out again just for our league night one night, just for fun. And wow, I felt like I was putting on a garbage bag.
Oh, really?
First of all, it was black and really, really bulky and way too big for me. And so yeah, it felt like you were slipping your head and arms through a garbage bag.
When I was in juniors, I was about, 90 pounds, so a tiny little thing, so put a huge garbage bag jacket on top of that, like, I was just floating in it. Is that not a good look? I don't know if you remember this trend. So, after a while, some curling companies got on the bandwagon of starting to develop, like, jackets and stuff like that,
Mhm.
And at least here in Quebec, and I think it branched out to some of the maritime provinces and definitely in the East Coast, was PCW, so Performance Curling Wear. And they had a jacket. So this was the next jacket phase where it was more, instead of being puffy, it was boxy. So it was just a straight cut jacket. And they had one model that had blocks, so sections of color that you can pick
I
from.
remember
So
that,
you can
yeah.
pick, I think it was the color of the sleeves, the
The
bodice,
shoulders
and then
and something like that.
yeah, and then the shoulder. So I remember once that came out the following year, you had all of the new teams essentially had that jacket, but just in different color
That's
variations.
right, the exact same template, and you had I remember even teams coordinating with each other, "Okay, make sure you don't get red because 'cause we're doing that."
Yeah, I think they had two, like a female template and a male template for the jacket, and then I don't know if people still use it. I haven't seen them in quite a while.
I haven't in a while. I have to say I had one of those and, it was really comfortable, but
Oh yeah,
it too, I put on again recently and was like, "How did I ever curl in this? It's way too big." But I remember at the time finding it was really warm and really, nice to play in.
yeah. I mean, there weren't that many options back in the day, right?
That's right. Actually, we had it figured out. We made all the, template or we all the different color blocks that you could choose, we made them all the same, which was kinda lame, but at the same time, we were like, "No other team is gonna do this," so
Did you have it just black or white or
it
blue?
was dark blue.
How do I not remember this?
'Cause it was during, our coaching days. This wasn't our
Oh,
junior
okay.
team, so you've seen it. You've curled with
Yeah.
us while we were playing in it, but it was the opposite of the Swedish Viking jersey. It was meant to not really stand out.
Mhm.
It was from those days of you need something to go to provincials, get it done quick.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, the quality was good, so there's already that because going to a sports store and finding a jacket that is good to curl in was already a challenge because you either had, like, these light spring jackets or the more heavy winter ones that were too heavy, but then the light ones were not warm enough, so it was definitely hard to find something suitable.
The last year I coached juniors, one of the teams, or the team that I was working with, they left the uniform buying to the very last second, and on I think the morning that provincials started, they went to Old Navy, got some cardigans as a little shout out to retro curling, and that was their uniform.
Honestly, it's not that bad. Like, you can find Old Navy or even some other like, sports stores have good generic jackets that would work. I remember in the last year of my junior years, our jackets, we got them from Lululemon. Not the
Oh, that
cheapest
must have been
option.
pricey.
It was pricey, but our thinking was too is like, everyone wears Lululemon, like, you can wear it wherever as athleisure wear. So for us, it was like, "Hey, this is a $120 jacket," but it definitely has other uses outside of
Oh,
curling.
only $120.
Yeah, and that's why we also made sure when we put the patches on that we only sewed, like, certain corners as to not put
Oh,
holes,
smart.
unnecessary holes. And I still have that jacket 10 years later. I still use it, still in perfect condition and good quality.
Oh,
So
clever.
yeah, there was definitely a trend. Lululemon was trending for a while. You guys also had a jacket that wasn't curling brand related, no? Did you have those Reebok ones, the white ones, at some point?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the with the big Union Jack on the
Yeah,
back.
those were really nice. I mean, the Union Jack was not, it was a
That was
little
a little bit
random,
much too. It implied that we were like the UK curling team.
but no, those were
But that
nice.
was nice, yeah, and I still wear it, or I still curled in it up until very recently. It was pretty comfortable.
I think now I curl in something similar now in our ladder games. I have like the Reebok, or not the Reebok, the Adidas one. It's also super comfortable and usable outside of curling. I think now the key is versatility.
We've gone from, trying to look well, I don't think any of us ever tried to look super competitive, but now, we're all about comfort.
Like, my curling pants are yoga pants now. Still use curling shoes. I haven't gotten on the trend of using regular, like,
Your
sneakers.
running shoe or converting them into
That's another trend, which I also only see with the guys. It hasn't picked up with the
I wonder
females
what's
yet.
up with that, yeah.
Yeah, so the trend we're talking about, if you haven't seen it yet, sometimes people use both shoes. Sometimes they have one curling shoe and then the sliding shoe is a sneaker, like a flat sole sneaker, like the Adidas Superstar ones are a popular
Mhm.
choice because it's flat. Actually, I'm here in my closet. My brother has a shoe. You can't see it, but it's a Reebok flat one. And so what you do is you buy these shoes, and then you can go to any curling store and get a slider put on. You can pick your thickness. Buy two grippers, one for each foot, and you're good to go.
Yeah, I have to be honest, I've given it a lot of thought because I'm really finicky with curling shoes. Like I don't care what I wear in terms of jackets or what they look like or anything, but for shoes I'm really really picky. And
Oh, same here.
uh yeah, I've never been able to find shoes that I really really like, which is why I'm still curling in the shoes that I have from my junior days, which are barely hanging on by a
They won't
thread
be
literally.
they won't be competition approved. Let's just say that.
Oh, for sure, no. There's no way they'd let me into a real competition with these, but I've tried other shoes and the hard part is like you want to get out on the ice and throw a few rocks with them before you buy them. But that's my big complaint with shoes is they're $300
Hmm.
usually. You better like them. You're rolling the dice and that's why
You have to
yeah.
know what you like in a shoe. There definitely is a range. I remember, so I upgraded my curling shoes a couple years ago because again, mine were they had holes in them and were absolutely disgusting. But there is a range. Like you
Hey,
do
what are you
have
saying? No, I admit it. It's true.
you
They are
do
gross mine.
there is a range, so there are some in the more 150, like 200, and then you definitely have the nicer, more pro elite, again using the air quotes, elite end that are in the $300 range. But I think what's good with the make it yourself shoe, so the reason why like my brother got that is when he was younger, like his feet were growing at a very fast pace. So there was no point in investing like $300 in a good pair of shoes when you're just going to outgrow them in 2 years. So this
Right.
is a cheaper option for some people, because the shoe itself you can buy a cheaper pair of shoes for $40, or if you want to get the fancy Adidas ones at 110, go for it. And then it's another what, $50 or so to put the slider on.
Yeah, and I think people know what they want in regular everyday shoes. And if you find something that's really comfortable, to me, I guess it makes good sense that hey,
Mhm.
if I really am comfortable walking around, moving around in this, let's make it into a curling shoe. Because that's my other issue is I've tried on curling shoes and I'm like, man, these are bulky. It feels like I've got weights attached to the bottom of my feet.
Yeah, I'm really picky when it came to shoes. There was one pair, I saw it and I was like, this is it. This is the
And
shoe
that's
we're
what you
going
went
with.
with?
Yeah, so I got the Balance Plus Deluxe ones. Again, I'm a Balance Plus person. Don't hate me for it. But it's just the classic. It almost looks like a dress shoe.
Yeah, I like your shoe. And it's
Classic. It has the slider fits the whole foot with the little hole in the sole, or like the ball of your foot. But some of the other ones, the big issue is that the sole was so thick. Like, I'm not talking about the slider part, but the actual sole of the shoe was so thick.
yes, that's my big complaint.
Like, so you feel elevated, and then just putting your foot in the hack, like, you feel not connected to the hack, if that makes
I
sense.
know. That's what I completely agree. That is what I've been looking for years in a curling shoe. I find that I would much rather have the bottom of my foot be closer to the hack. I want that bottom layer to the sole to be as thin as possible.
Mhm.
And also, it creates more drag when you kick out. Like I know you can get the toe coated, but I find the thicker that whole part is, the harder it is to deal with. And I think eventually, like if you keep curling in these for years, you break it down. It's kind of like breaking in a baseball glove.
You'll get used to it for sure. So it's
But
definitely a personal preference thing. Like, I don't think it adds anything to your game as much as they may market it that way. Like every brand pretty much has their own style of slider. Like the Balance Plus is usually the full one. Asham has the discs, which I'm sorry, I'm just not buying.
oh,
I'm gonna say,
these are some pretty strong accusations, Kelly.
well,
But I
yeah, I
agree with
mean,
you. I did some research and I was looking at the price of shoes. So Balance Plus has a new brand of shoe, which I look at it. It kind of looks like what I want. They've thinned down the sole, but I don't know. $250.
plus tax
Um,
too, right?
Oh yeah, plus tax and shipping and everything like that. Goldline has shoes for 260 roughly. I mean, and you can get cheaper models with thinner sliders, but I would not advise getting thin sliders.
Unless you're a
And
complete beginner, but after a certain while, you need a
you
good
want to be
thickness.
able to like not let go of your rock at the
Oh,
T line.
again, to bash on Asham, remember with
We're
with
losing more sponsorship opportunities every day.
yeah, but you know what? Hopefully, Balance Plus will come to save us. The steel discs. So you remember you had the option of having
Hmm.
the regular Teflon slider, but then they came with the metallic, like the steel discs that were one had zero friction, so you went flying, and then it made this like clink clink sound on the ice, which also was very annoying.
Yeah, and I think not that I tried it, but I remember people telling me that I mean, the moment you slide with any slider, it's going to get ruined.
Mhm.
That's why you can't test it on the ice. And that when you got those little scratches in the metal, they would actually drag you in the direction
Oh,
of the
that's very
scratch. Like
bad.
it'd be harder to keep your foot straight. I mean, or so I've been told. I can't say
I
that.
mean, I
Like
guess
many
you can.
things we say on this podcast, it's all anecdotal.
I guess it's another excuse you can use as for being outside or something like that. Like my shoe, it dragged me out. It's not my
That's
fault.
right. And one more little Asham story here that's just gonna make more get us in more trouble. But a couple or a long time ago, actually, I lived in Winnipeg for a little while for a summer. I took a job there, and they have the big Asham curling store. And I figured this is the perfect place to stock up on everything curling related that I need. My brother needed new curling shoes, and so I got him some Asham shoes, which he still wears to this day. He likes them. Although maybe that's why he misses all his draws. Just
Yeah.
saying. Sorry, Mark. But the thing that I remember was I bought him the shoes. They were the right size, but I had to buy the sliding discs as well. And I
Oh,
assumed that you would buy. No,
it didn't come with the shoe.
maybe they do sometimes, but not the shoe that I was buying. I had to buy them separately. And I didn't realize because there's one that goes under the ball of your foot and there's one that goes under the heel. You've got to buy them twice. I just looked this up before we went on air. So a disc, if it's I think quarter of an inch or whatever the relatively thick one is $47
Just for one disc.
for one. Now I could be wrong. If anybody's wrong, from Asham, let us know and we'll correct ourselves next week. But I believe it's 47 for just one of them. But I didn't realize that till after I bought my brother his slider and I cheaped out on him. I got him the paper thin one because that was not as expensive, but it was still pretty expensive. And drove
Wow.
back to Montreal and then looked at it and went, "Oh, you only have one. I thought there were two." Well, learn to toe tuck. Maybe this is why everybody in Manitoba toe tucks. Yes, we've got a conspiracy theory going here.
And it's true because every brand isn't as popular across the country. Asham, I mean, it's from Manitoba, so obviously it's a popular brand in
That's
Manitoba.
right. And they know
And
what they're doing. And they've been very generous to curling. And actually, I want to apologize for calling them out. I'm not a huge fan of the shoes, but in certain curling tournaments I've played in, Asham has been extremely kind and has given us a lot of merchandise. So,
yeah, all of our comments here are just based on personal preferences, like not to say that they're not good or will
mhm.
affect your game in a negative
That's
way.
right. And really, all curling merchandise store or all curling providers are guilty of charging a lot of money, not Asham alone. They're all guilty of charging a lot of money for materials that I don't think are actually that expensive.
I wonder what their profit margins are. But yeah, so back to what we were saying earlier, like Asham is definitely popular in Manitoba and out west. Performance is definitely a Quebec brand. We have Hardline too here now that,
Hardline is taking over the world, it looks like.
especially with their brooms.
hmm
Let's not talk
Broom
about
gate again.
Broomgate. Goldline was started in Ontario and is definitely popular there. I think they have a shop in Ottawa too. Like,
Yeah, they do.
not too sure what's popular in the Maritimes. Yeah, kind of people just stick to one brand and
Yeah, or you can be like me and have two brands. Actually, let's go through. I know my broom is. We both have performance brooms. You were saying your shoes are Balance Plus. Mine are Balance Plus and Gold Line.
right, because you don't have you have two different sets.
That's right. That's
Um,
because one of my shoes has so worn away that I'm actually using a different pair of from a different pair.
I think it's time that you upgrade. I mean,
I
you
know.
can
I
save.
really hate it when people notice it. Usually no one looks at your curling shoes, but when people actually look at your feet and they're like, "What the hell are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, yeah, well, you know."
Well, I think the money that you save this year not paying a curling membership can go into buying
I
shoes
can't,
for
it's
next
already gone
year.
towards a corn broom.
Well, life choices here.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, you said my brooms are performance, but those ones were given to me through winning. In terms of personal preference, I also really like the Balance Plus ones, just in the way they look. Like, I really like the shaft where it's white, and then you can have an option for color at the end. So they had like the green or the red or blue. Like, I really liked
Yeah,
that.
I've always liked those. That's me too. Like a lot of the brooms I've won or somehow acquired, but that's one of the ones I purchased myself, a Balance Plus broom, and I really liked it. And it's tapered as well. It makes it a little bit easier to put your weight into it.
There's two types of brooms, though. Brooms are something that you buy once and you're good to go. Like, you don't, it's not something you buy very often. But when we won the provincial championship the first time, we were gifted these brooms, and that's when I learned there was actually two sizes of brooms. So you had the really thin ones or like the thicker shaft.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Ah, you didn't know that? Well, there is. And again, it's a personal preference. Half our team went with the thinner shaft, and half of us went with the thicker ones. I guess it just depends one on the size of your hands, and then how, like, what your grip is like. So I personally prefer the thicker ones. But do you remember a couple years, over a decade now, when Performance came out with a new line of brooms? Because before, like, a broom was a broom, right? You had your brownie broom, and then they came out with the, I guess,
That's
carbon
right. That was
fiber
my
ones.
first broom, by the way. I had a can curl broom.
Ooh, and they were heavy too, right?
They were heavy, and I kept breaking it because I was 12 years old. I was using it as a pogo stick. Like the bottom was so, yeah,
Yeah, it
you
was so
could
thick.
jump on it and bounce off it. Not good. It'll break your broom. Don't do it, kids.
PCW came out. I guess they're made, like, they're carbon fiber, or like that was the material they were marketing. And there was different kinds of brooms. So you had like the standard one, there was the tapered one, the flex, which
Oh, I
actually
remember
bent.
that one.
Yeah, I mean, it
Yes.
didn't bend
I
much,
was
but
always afraid I'd break it. I tried, my
oh,
teammate had one.
I don't know. I don't understand how you can get used to it. You, like, it wasn't noticeable to the eye, but you can definitely feel it once you put pressure on it.
Those were game changers though. I mean, I think the performance brooms, and they've undergone different there's different variations of them, but that was, I think, the first broom of its type to have a head that could swivel. That
Yes,
was a
that was a
big
big
game
one,
changing thing that let people get closer to the rock, because at the time they thought that was the best thing to do. It turns out no, it isn't. But
and you can change the angle too of your broom head, so you weren't
yeah,
necessarily sweeping, um, with the full length of it.
that's it. To me, that was a bigger change in curling brooms than making them carbon fiber, ultralight, or anything like that. It was the moment I switched to that, I was like, oh wow, this is way easier.
And have you ever gone back to, like, an older broom? You know how sometimes in clubs they'll have, just a pile of brooms that they use for rentals,
Oh
and
yeah.
they're a mix of brownie brooms, but also those old heavy plastic ones. And I was at another club at a rental, and they only had these old brooms, so I took one, and you kind of realize, like, how on earth did I curl with this heavy broom? It is so heavy, and then I mean, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it is a lot more exhausting playing a game with those heavy brooms compared to the light ones we have now.
That's right. And it's funny because we don't have the lightest things available. Our competitive careers have kind of wound up at the same time, and we're at a point where we're not going to bother to buy the new ultra fast, ultra light hardliner,
No.
balance plus, or performance version of whatever. And if I try them, I always, because I've tried them and I'm like, they're too light
Yeah, I tried the
for
hardline
people like us who
one.
are not used to it.
Yeah, I tried the hardline one, and I really didn't like it. The one where the head is basically just foam,
Yeah.
or I don't
I
know.
think the thing that really intrigues me about it is the idea of not buying broom heads over and over and over again, but just be like me and Kelly and leave your broom head on all damn season.
It doesn't
It
matter.
Who cares?
I mean, my broom is circa 2010, 20. 2009, 2010.
Okay,
And
yeah,
it's
mine is
still,
a couple years after that, and it's still good.
yeah, I have no intention of changing it anytime soon. Maybe one day if they revamp the broom like they did from when we went from corn broom to the broom we have now, then maybe I'll consider it, but we're hanging on to it. Even the whole side, so it used to say Quebec on the side
Hmm.
because that's the one we use for national, and it's like totally faded now. Doesn't look as good as it used to, but it's still functional.
It still sweeps. That's what you need.
And do you remember also, this trend didn't last very long, but couple of people got the, we call it the bent ballet. I guess it was supposed to be ergonomic, but there was an S bent in the broom shaft so that your wrist was, I guess, perpendicular to the ice. Like it
Yeah,
was totally flat as opposed to,
in theory, yeah, it looks like it's easier to lean into. And I want to say I didn't know this, but I every now and then, when which is easy now in these days of quarantine, I look up old curling videos that they keep putting out on YouTube, and one of the interesting things to look at is what brooms are they using? And I actually found they weren't performance brooms. The bent ballet, as we call it here in Quebec, or just us two, pretty much. But the bent broom shaft, as we call it, actually goes back much further. I found it
really?
being used in like the early '90s.
By who? Who made
I
them?
have to. I'll have to find out. I don't remember. I should have.
Because I always thought it was the performance who
I
made
don't
them.
think they invented it. Yeah.
Hmm. So Rob, as you know, a topic that keeps coming up every episode is the Briar and the Scotties, and usually we've been talking about, the format and how it has to change. But one thing I hope it doesn't change, and the thing that I really like is to see the different shirts every province comes up with every
Yeah.
year. Um, so for the nationals, there's usually one company that sponsors the event and makes all of the jerseys and the jackets for every team. Not so for the juniors. I guess the budget isn't there, and we can get into that because we've both experienced
Hmm.
um, the junior events. But it's kind of cool to see what the design is for every province because every province has its own group of colors.
Yeah. Like for instance, if anybody's from Manitoba is listening, why do you wear yellow? There's no yellow in the Manitoba flag. I guess it's because no other province wears yellow, right?
Well, except for
Oh,
New
huh, yeah,
Brunswick.
that was a segue for perennial whipping boy of our podcast, New Brunswick.
Poor New Brunswick.
I
There's
know we have to apologize. We kept using them as the in the butt of all curling jokes last week when
maybe if they got upgraded their colors a little bit. So New Brunswick, like Manitoba, is yellow and black. They just don't wear them in the same way. Manitoba, they at least have the bison as
mhm.
their mascot, if you will, and usually like you'll have Manitoba written in the bison shape, which is actually a cool design. Whoever came up with it,
Yeah.
but yeah, New Brunswick is just
I disagree
not
with you. I like the New Brunswick colors. They remind me of
really.
the Boston Bruins, and I'm not a fan. I live in Montreal. I am not allowed to like the Bruins, but I do like their jerseys. I
Oh, I
like the
hate
New
their
Brunswick
jersey.
jerseys. Oh, I love it.
Oh
It's gold and
no.
black, first of all, not yellow.
Oh, that's true.
Hey, I have a complaint. You know how they all have their provincial crest on the
Yeah.
back, like of the jacket? Somebody's got to tell people in BC that is not a crest.
I don't think BC has a crest.
They do. It's just they don't put it on their jacket. I've Googled it. They have a crest, but their logo thing on their back is a waving BC flag. But what the heck? All the other provinces, even North Ontario has a crest. Get with the program, BC. What's going on?
They're West Coast, okay? They're doing their own thing.
Our goal is to offend every province. We got BC, New Brunswick, Manitoba off the list.
Although Saskatchewan, what I see from them too is they have the wheat
Hmm.
bunch. Like it's basically a, I don't even want to call, I don't know how you call it. Like it's not a bale of hay. It's just like wheat.
No, a tough thing. I don't know. Yeah, well, you're more Saskatchewan than I am, but
But I
It's
do like
true.
the color. The green is Saskatchewan, even though there's no green in well, I guess there is
Well, their
green.
flag is green, so and it's
The Rough
does anybody
Riders are
even think of
green.
the flag? We all think of the Rough Riders, so
Yeah, that's true. I
exactly.
always liked Nova Scotia. They're blue and white, and I really like the shade of blue that they used. Compared to Quebec, which is also blue, and our flag is blue, but the shade of blue that they use is really not great. Like they've
Yeah,
seen
I'm
the shade changes from year to year, but I have seen it at some point in the early 2000s where it was like this baby blue.
yeah,
Do you
it was
remember that?
powder blue or baby
Yeah,
blue or
it was really not that nice. Well, at least we have the fleur de lis too, which is a good touch, a nice touch. I'm sure you've experienced this when you went to the junior nationals when coaching. It is kind of a tradition, and not just at the junior level, but it is a tradition in curling to swap jerseys with other teams. And I know that at the juniors, there were definitely some shirts that were more popular than others. If you wanted certain provinces, you really had to befriend that team early on and secure a jersey and hope that one of the players is the same size as you, because that is also a determining factor if they wanted to swap. But I
that's
remember
right.
definitely Quebec was pretty popular. Just it was different, and our shirts were also better quality than some of the others because we were always sponsored by Performance.
Mhm.
Saskatchewan was definitely a popular one because they have like the iconic green. Uh,
Yeah, I got one of them, and it was funny
oh, really?
because, the coach and well, first of all, I was coaching, so it's kinda weird to swap with, but I was a pretty young coach. I was only a couple of years older than some of the athletes, so I got some of theirs too. We were pretty much the same size. But the coach of the Saskatchewan team I had met earlier, he was in Montreal for the mixed nationals, which were the year before, which I was a volunteer for. So I was driving him to the hotel all the time, and he was a really nice guy. We were chatting, and then he's like, "I remember you. You were that guy that drove me around. Let's swap jerseys." It's like, "Oh, right,
Oh,
I got a Saskatchewan jersey."
I Saskatchewan was one of my favorite jersey, and I never managed to secure one,
Oh no,
unfortunately. Oh,
but we know
speaking of,
what. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say some of the least popular ones.
Yep.
Although they usually had good quality, the Northwest Territories, like they were nice shirts. The only problem is their colors were gray,
Oh,
like a
great.
powdery
That's not my
gray and
favorite.
red, and just red's not my color, so I did not swap with
Most of the
them.
provinces have some kind of red motif, but
Yeah, and also, I don't know why, but Ontario and Northern Ontario, I don't know where their budget went, but it definitely did not go into dressing up their players because it was it was as if they went to Walmart, bought 5 polo shirts, and
and just wrote "aunt" on the back.
exactly, with their
Yeah,
last
North
name.
Ontario cleaned it up by the time I was there. They had actual performance or they had high quality. I have a North Ontario shirt that's
Oh,
really nice.
really? Well, when I went, it was just a yellow cotton t-shirt, like
Oh,
nothing
that's
nothing
awful.
special, and it was yellow and green. So the color pairing was okay, and I don't remember what they had. It didn't just say North On, like they had maybe I think they had a moose, maybe?
Oh, of course, yeah. Their
Yeah,
little
so
emblem.
yeah, it was nice, but it was just so bad quality, and then you have these really nice, expensive performance shirts, and you're like, "I'm kinda losing out on this."
Yeah. Don't trade with Ontario.
No, but
Just don't.
if they've upped their game, then go
They
for it.
must have. That was a long time ago that we're talking about, but I remember that was the same thing. By the time that I was there, because I was there a few years after you, a lot of these provinces had cleaned it up. They had much more professional looking, except Ontario stood alone with their
Really?
$5 polo shirts from Walmart that were
And it's
just completely black or white with the name and no crest, no logo, just aunt.
surprising because Ontario, like, anyone who lives in Canada would agree that Ontario is the center of Canada, and you would
And a damn
assume
hard province to win. You deserve a lot more than a $5 polo shirt for winning Ontario at any level.
exactly, don't tell me you don't have budget, like, you're probably one of the biggest provinces in the country here. So,
That's right.
maybe we need to move to Ontario and get on the board somewhere. But it is a really cool tradition, and I don't know about you, but I've definitely worn those other jerseys in my ladder games and even just playing the circuit. And it was kind of a thing too. It was a little bit of a badge of honor. I remember in the junior circuit, if you managed to get a cool shirt, or the teams that just came back from nationals, like they would wear the jerseys. So it's kind of
Yeah, I
cool.
remember that. Yeah. It's but they're comfy. That's what it came
Yeah.
down to, is they were the better, they were well made compared to some of the other things we had.
And not just in Canada, but definitely internationally, there are some other iconic jerseys. Notably, Sweden, I think, is one of my favorite ones. So they're like bright yellow and blue, and they have the three crowns on the back.
See, I don't think you can defend the New Brunswick color scheme with the yellow and then or attack New Brunswick, sorry, and then bring in Sweden and be like, "Oh, look at all the yellow. It's wonderful."
Well, first of all, I think Sweden's shade of yellow is nicer, and then yellow and blue complement each other a lot better than the yellow and black.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like Alberta.
Yeah, exactly. Alberta also a popular jersey choice. Yeah, so Sweden I think is definitely one of the popular ones. I have a couple shirts, which I really really like. And what else? Sweden, too, not Sweden. Switzerland also has
Yeah, I've always liked theirs.
yeah, the just red and they look like a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, they don't have much of a crest or logo or flat, well, whatever we're talking about. We all know the cross, but they do well with it.
Oh, and also I don't know if you remember Denmark's jersey or
I
their style. So Denmark doesn't have much of a flag besides the cross, like
Right,
every
just
other
red and white.
Scandinavian country, but they have on their jackets and on the side of their shirts the chevron that goes down the
Okay.
arm. I don't know if do you not remember it?
No, because I feel like they change every year. It just depends on the supplier. I've seen some pretty ugly Denmark jerseys.
Oh yeah. Well, also Denmark is kind
Yeah,
of in and out of
that's true as
the
well.
world. Like some years they're in the A and they drop to the B and then go back to
That's
the A.
right. When they make it, they've got to make it count, though, I guess. So,
Well, they've won. They've been successful in the past. They're just not as consistent as other teams. Yeah, so I guess this kind of wraps up our
yeah,
fashion
we've gone
episode.
from retro to how everybody looks like NASCAR drivers now in curling. And
Mhm.
just for fun, Kelly, because if we were going to do like, we've been talking about jerseys and equipment and everything. And so if you've listened to another episode, we did briefly step back into competitive play to attempt the mixed doubles provincials a couple of years ago. So we know all about we're not getting the fancy things. We're going to Old Navy and finding the cheapest matching thing we can. If you, let's say we wanted to go the other route, let's say we wanted to go like Dynasty jacket shirt. I looked this up and I
Okay.
couldn't find it, but how much do you think it would cost
Like just
for
the
the
jacket?
jacket? Yes.
I'd say like $90 Canadian.
I have well, if anybody from Dynasty is listening, please help me because I actually couldn't find it out. But what I did see is that you have to submit a concept and there's a fee with that. There's a $75 concept fee and then a $75 additional fee for what they call the first proof. So you're paying at least $150 and then
Ooh.
you might go through other iterations and it's just going to cost more each time. So those are not cheap.
No, but I do know that company, they market themselves as made to order. So they're not
Okay.
creating a line like the Balance Plus and the Ashams and the Performance do.
Okay.
It's really like made to order, and they're marketing themselves to teams, like
Okay.
elite
So
teams.
either way, those jackets are going to set us back a fair amount, but
Yeah.
we've got our brooms. We're good to go.
Maybe we can do some behind the tea podcast merch.
That's the
With,
thing. We want to start selling merch. So if anybody's listening, we apologize for all the bad things we've said. But I'm going to throw out one more little bit of shade before we go here. And
before you say that, I was like, we are very open to changing our minds and saying that we are wrong.
so convince us otherwise on this. Because if you've been listening, Kelly loves nothing more than stabilizers. And so, Kelly, I think the reason we lost, actually, this is mixed. I was making a joke about we lost because we didn't use a stabilizer. It's mixed doubles. We're not even allowed to. But let's say that you could. How would you feel about buying the hardline designed by Reed Carruthers sliding device. It has a name. I don't remember what it
It's
is,
called a
but
sliding device.
how much do you think it costs?
Well, there's how much it costs and then how much I'm willing to pay for it are 2 different
Okay,
things.
I want to know both.
I don't think it's like, even for brooms, I don't think they should be more than, like, $100. Like, even then, I think it's pretty top top of the line, top of the range. But how much it actually goes for, I wouldn't be surprised if it's, like, 150.
Pretty close. If this were Price is Right, you'd be probably closest without going over. It's 170, the Pro
Whoa!
Slide.
That
And I
is
just want to say, yeah, 107. That's more than most curling brooms, and you can't sweep with it.
Well, that's the thing. If you decide to invest in a stabilizer, remember that you have to buy a broom on top of that. So you're spending twice as much money than someone who uses only a broom to slide.
That's
So
right. And I want to say one more quick thing about this, and it's that I don't know if we've mentioned this before, but we were at the trials, and a representative from Hardline who works for them was sitting right in front of us, and we started trash talking the Pro Slide and how expensive it was, not realizing that the guy who invented it was right there in front of us. So we do apologize for that. Now we're saying it over the airwaves, so even more people will hear this. But the other thing is that we were curling shortly before the shutdown. We played a little fun tournament in the club where this was invented, and they had a booth or kiosk, and they were selling a bunch of hardline merchandise. And I remember making the comment to one of our teammates who, "Hey, those are expensive. Guess how much they are?" I didn't remember the amount, but he said, "I'm going to go ask them how much." And he confidently walked over and made some comment, but that is way too much. So he said it right to them.
it could be a really good product. I don't know. I haven't tried it, so I'm not going to comment on that. But just, it's like, even if a broom was $170, I'd be like, excuse me.
Yeah, and just to close this all out, I think a recurring theme that's coming up in our in every episode, other than Randy Furby, who we didn't bring in today, is that life in curling is not as cheap as we once thought. It gets
Really?
we get the or we keep saying, oh, it's cheaper than hockey, and it always will be one of the cheaper sports to play. But once you start thinking about the apparel that we've talked about today, it gets really, really expensive.
Mhm.
I know for hockey, you've got a whole pile of equipment that you're wearing that can't be cheap. But here,
Yeah. At least for curling though, it does last a long time. Like, for instance, our shoes, we've worn them for a decade before we
yeah,
bought
I've gotten
another
my
pair.
money's worth out of my shoes. I'll say that much.
Same for the broom. I mean, I've already been using it for 10 years. I'm pretty sure I'll be using it for another 10. So it is like, yeah, it's a lot of money upfront, but it does last quite a bit. So yeah, I guess this kind of wraps up today's episode.
Yeah. If and by the way, final thought: if you're gonna buy curling merchandise, do it now. It's Boxing Week.
Oh
All
yeah,
these prices I gave you are actually marked quite a bit down. So act
perfect. And
now.
you'll be ready to go come next September when the next season starts.
Yes. Get ready for 8 months from now.
True. So don't forget to follow us on Instagram at behindthetee.curling and catch us next week for another episode.
Fashion faux pas, probably.
Ooh, good idea.
Yeah. Hmm.
All right, bye.
Bye.